Let's do a self-exploration meditation on the 3 planes. Atma Nirvriti chapter 13. Let's explore in which plane does knowing of hearing happen. Let's take the stand of an Advaitin at Srishti Drishti Vad level. At this level, there is duality. How does an Advaitin at this level recognize the object of sound? Listen to these words. These words are coming from an object of sound. A sound object is a gross object. It exists in the gross plane, the plane of the senses. This means that an object of sound exists in the plane of time and space. Sound can be measured. It has specific wavelengths. This is the space aspect. Sound exists for a while and dissolves. It is time bound. This is the time aspect. The plane of the senses is bound by time and space. Sound exists in this plane of senses and is also bound by time and space. Ask yourself this question. What aspect within me is experiencing the sound of these words? The sense organ called the ear exists as the same plane as the sound object. But the ear is not conscious. Therefore, it cannot know anything. The ear cannot know the sound. The ear is not the one that is experiencing or knowing the sound. Then what is it that is experiencing the sound? Is it the mind? Sound exists in a plane bound by time and space. The mind exists in a plane bound only by time. The plane of the mind is different from the plane of the sound. The mind can never come down to the plane of the senses to know a gross sound object. Therefore, the mind is not the one that is experiencing or knowing the sound. Then what is it that is knowing the the sound of these words. The I principle or sense of I or witness consciousness cannot come down to the level of the mind to witness thoughts. Neither can it come down to the plane of senses to experience the objects of sound, because the witness is neither bound by time nor by space. It is on a separate plane. The mind exists on the plane bound by time. Sound exists on the plane bound by space and time. The witness exists on a separate plane beyond both time and space. Therefore, the witness is not the one that is experiencing or knowing the sound. Then, where does experiencing or knowing or understanding happen? In our own personal experiential recognition, it is clear that there is no proof of the existence of any gross objects, including the object of sound. There is only the proof of the existence of the perception of sound. And perception is nothing but a thought, a tangible thought. A tangible thought means a thought that can be seen, heard, smelled, tasted, and touched. When an Advaitin progresses to the Drishti Srishti Vad level, the level where consciousness precedes creation, he recognizes everything like a hologram that can be heard, smelled, tasted, and touched in addition to being seen. Everything is a projected thought, a tangible thought. This is the true meaning of an inside-out perception, an inside-out tangible thought. A tangible thought has been labeled as the gross object called the object of sound. In this case, the sound of these words coming from your device. Examine your sound object carefully. Isn't it like a hologram? Isn't it simply a sound thought? Does this sound thought actually hold a gross object, which is the source of the sound? No. Does this sound thought actually hold a subtle object called the object of sound? No, one thought cannot exist in another thought. In fact, the tangible thought is itself objectless. But objectlessness is the definition of pure consciousness. Therefore, objectless thought is not a thought at all. Then what is consciousness knowing right now? The gross object, called the object of sound, does not exist. It is only a perception of sound. That perception of sound is nothing but a tangible thought. That tangible thought is objectless. And objectlessness is the definition of consciousness. So, a gross object does not exist, and a thought does not exist. Then what is it that is known? An Ajatavadan recognizes that the sound which is supposed to have been perceived loses its form and becomes hearing itself. Sound is nothing but hearing. Hearing is nothing but knowing. When the so-called object comes into the plane of knowledge, it loses its objectivity and becomes knowledge itself. It becomes one with the knower. Therefore, the knower, the known, and knowledge are one and the same. It is a single screen of knowingness. Consciousness is knowing itself. Consciousness is knowing reality. Knowing is always directed to the reality. The object of knowledge is always the reality, if reality can ever be called an object. Therefore, it is only the reality that is known in every case. This means you are consciousness. What you are hearing is nothing but consciousness. There is, in effect, only consciousness. Consciousness is knowing itself. This is the meaning of absolute reality, where there is only a single screen or a single ocean of the light of consciousness. In this, the knower, known, and knowledge are nothing but a single field of knowingness, a single field of oneness. The light of awareness. This is the meaning of absolute reality. The witness, the mind, the body, and the world are all nothing but the single light of consciousness. The single screen of awareness. There is no two. This is the absolute reality. The absolute is unborn, ajata, unborn, and undying. It simply is. It simply is. It simply is.